Welcome to Conversations with Esther. My name is Stephanie Ayeta. Have you ever felt the need to bootlick your boss in order to maintain or sustain your position in your company? Well, this is a discussion that we are about to dissect with the help of Esther, of course, with us, because it is an issue that she has found in her social platforms that people are actually facing.
Yes.
You did a post, Esther.
Yes, I did.
And people reacted to it.
Yes.
Many people. It's
very
got
many people.
that
36,000.
36,000
in 2 days, yes.
Yeah, impressions in 2 days.
Yes.
And it has many shares, and people have commented overwhelmingly, sorry,
Yes.
on that particular post. So you want to know what exactly is this problem. So I will share that post that she posted there on LinkedIn. You wrote, "The workplace has become a landmine with people performing unwritten duties that are eroding great cultures. Refuse to be misused and stand up for integrity, honesty, and professionalism."
Yes.
What prompted you to write this?
As I said in the previous conversations, I believe in leadership with excellence and with integrity. And I think the workplace in the modern times have become a almost dangerous place to be, and unfortunately people feel that they have to bootlick to sustain their jobs. They have to do things in favor of their bosses. Really, I don't want to say that doing what your boss wants is wrong. I simply want to say that you need to stand up for what is right, and maybe with respect and absolute respect, be able to advise your boss on what is right and what is wrong. Yes.
Okay, and we'll get to that. But
Yes.
first, let us see some of the engagement, some of the comments that people wrote. And
Yes.
remember, you can also participate in this conversation online. You can get her on her LinkedIn at Esther Katiba, where she posts some of these issues
Yes.
that affect people.
Yes.
And these are some of the responses that are there. I'll just sample but a few. By one person saying, "Bootlicking is worsening in view of job insecurity and underhand dealings at the workplace." Esther, before we continue reading the rest, what do you think about this? Is it worsening because of matters job insecurity that is there?
I think it could be that most people fear losing their jobs, and so they will do what the manager wants. And I want to say that bootlicking is not just at the top, it can happen at any level. Because if you report to someone and you really must, you feel like you must do what they want you to do, unfortunately people will even do illegal things or illegal dealings just to secure their jobs. But as we said, Steph, it doesn't last. It doesn't last. It could be getting worse maybe in the current workspace. And reading the comments, I saw someone say that it is the only way to pay your bills, and I disagree. Completely disagree. I think it's how you front yourself from the beginning, and what you say about yourself, how you present yourself from the start. Because if you are a straightforward person, and you can go into an organization and set your rules. Every game has rules. So you can set your rules. And people say, "I will lose my job if I don't do this." No, you don't have to lose your job. You can say it with respect to your boss and say that, "For this one, I am sorry, with all respect, I'm not able to do this." And it's fine. They will respect you for that. So don't think that when you bootlick, they respect you. They don't respect you. They could just be using you.
Okay.
Yes.
So in short, bootlicking is just accepting everything that the boss gives to you or says to you or does, whether it's good or bad.
Yes, doing things in favor to get the favor from your boss, you know. I think it's just a fear that gets into employees, and sometimes it's unnecessary. Because if you stand up and say, I'm sorry, I won't be able to do this, then the boss will respect you. You might not be in good terms for some time, maybe, if they didn't expect you to say no, but I think they respect you eventually. They do respect you. But just doing things, becoming a slave, and I've even seen people say sometimes some people will even sign illegal documents. They will do corruption
Just to
or
be in
do
the
some
good
just to be in the
books
good books with,
with
the
the
boss,
boss.
which is wrong. It actually affects you, and it's upon your, it's your integrity issue. It's an
Okay.
integrity issue.
And the way you're putting it, you know, you're saying someone has a choice and you can actually stand up to your boss and say no to this, and it might take time before your relationship gets back to where it was, but it's the right thing to do. But what of this person who is really, you know, depending on that job and really fears to go against the boss, and that might just be that one thing that gets them off their work? Is it a risk that they want to take?
Most might not be bold enough to take the risk, but again I say it's a way you approach the issue. You see, a boss must be respected, of course, and respecting your boss doesn't mean doing the wrong thing. I think it's a way you have that conversation. You need to choose the time to have the conversation. You need to know how to approach that conversation, and you can as well approach it from the benefit of the business and not just the benefit of the boss, because you can go and advise the business and advise your boss that if we do this, then this is what will happen to the business. Then I think it's a way you approach it, and you need wisdom to actually say no to your boss. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And there's a comment that I read there. Someone said, I refused to bootlick and now I'm jobless.
I saw that, and it's very painful, yes. But, and I remember I responded to her and said, but you walked away with your integrity intact. Yes, because if then you have done everything you can and you've advised your boss, I think it doesn't make you a better person by doing it or give you credit by doing it and retaining your job. It's, you will walk with the guilt every time. But I think she's very confident, and she said, yes, I walked away with my integrity intact. You can't trade in your integrity. You
So
just
there are
can't.
things that you can't trade in.
Yes,
That
you
is
can't.
integrity
You can't.
and professionalism.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, and we have more here. So someone says, very true, but God punishes them severely. In my career, I have seen how they end up. They rise quickly, like Haman, but finally drop down to oblivion. It's better to rise slowly, and like Mordecai, and have an Esther, someone you helped climb the ladder and in communication with. What do you say to that?
I respect that person. I respect people that will say no to it. I think it's not just what is in it for me, but really what is in it for the entire organization, what is in it for the rest of the employees, because then when I exit the business, and that's what I've been doing, then someone else will fall trap into it, and someone else has to sustain their job that way. But it ends up becoming a very toxic work environment, very toxic,
Right.
because the rest of the people have kind of to dance to the same music, you know, and it comes down. If then this is happening at the top, it would definitely come back down to the next level and goes down all the way to the supervisor level. So people just have to do what the supervisor wants and what the leader wants, whether it's right or wrong for the business, and eventually the business can come down. That can bring the business down, because people don't trust you, people are not safe. There's no, really what they're calling job security is not job security. It can't be job security. It can't be. You can't sustain that. So you just need to stand up and say, this for me, I'm sorry. And again, I say with respect, because your boss deserves respect, but you can have a very good conversation with your boss and say, these are my values, you know, and I think that's the way you need to front it. These are my values. If it's a corrupt deal, I'm sorry, this one I don't.
All right.
Yeah,
And there's something that you said in one of the comments, and you told them that at least you have secured your mental health,
Yes.
something alluding to that.
Yes.
So how is it related to one's mental health?
Again, as we said, the workplace, a toxic work environment, Stephanie, is becoming a very big contributor to mental health issues, because an employee gets stressed, and when the employee is stressed, because I'm thinking I'm going home very stressed, there's something that my boss wants me to do, and I don't ascribe to that. I don't. That's really not my values, and I will keep thinking about it. I don't want to do it, but I know I will lose my job. Now, the employee is torn in between losing their job or keeping their job and doing the right thing, and it causes stress because you even don't want to go to work. I've had conversations with people on LinkedIn itself, and someone says my environment is very toxic, and I get into my car, sit and cry, and pick my bag and go back to the house. I can't stand going to that work place. And eventually that person gets into their houses and they lock themselves up. They're not talking, they're not telling anybody what's happening, they're just crying, and it even gets into depression, completely into depression.
Because that is the place you're spending most of your time with, at least during the day.
Yes, minimum 8 hours. So you can imagine, you get to your house maybe at 8, you leave your house in the morning at 5, go to work, come back at 8 p.m. and all you do is eat quickly, take a shower and sleep. So you don't even enjoy your house as such, but the place where you spend a lot of time is toxic, and it's really depressing you because you can't talk. Sometimes you don't even talk to the rest of the people because you don't know what they do. You don't know what their values are, and maybe they're willing to do it and you're not willing to do it. So it just becomes a very stressful place to be, and that's not what the workplace should be. It should be the best place.
And you said that the benefits are not long lasting. You know, it's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable.
Why is it? Because you have favor with the boss. So
you have favor with the boss, but you see, sometimes it's not competence that takes you up. It's a favor that the boss wants to keep you very close because you protect their interests. So they will climb up with you. But just imagine if the boss leaves, what happens? You're the next one online, or you even exit yourself because then you don't have a shield because your boss was your shield. It's not your competence that took you up. So finally your work will be exposed, and maybe your competence and your issues of performance will be exposed because somebody was shielding you. Now the shield is out, so then you're exposed and you can't survive. It doesn't last. Doesn't last.
And comparing this to rewarding loyalty, because it can be easily confused with loyalty, and we have seen this even in the political space because that is also an area of leadership. We have seen leaders being rewarded for their loyalty in the different political parties, and some people are against that, some people are for it. So how would you compare the two?
I think bootlicking is very different. I would expect that someone would reward loyalty in terms of competence and being able to even support the leader, even if it's in the political world. I think it's where you support and support in soberness. It's really not supporting me to do corrupt deals. It may not last as well. I think employees and political spheres need to understand that if I am supporting you and I need to be rewarded, then remember there's still performance, and when you reward that and give somebody a position even in the political spheres, the person will have to defend themselves by their performance. And the public is watching. So it could be looked at as a reward, yes, but then when you're thrown into the role, then you need to perform because then that's
People
where
need
it
to see
exposes you. People need to see it. People are watching. I mean, you're held accountable for it. So at that point, then you are on your own. You're on your own. Yes.
All right, and you've brought this new aspect to it. So what if in the company, in the workplace, you have favor with the boss and you're competent, but you're also doing things for the boss that are not right? Does it qualify to be bootlicking? Because at the end of the day, you're performing at your job, you're competent, but you're also doing things to just gain favor with the boss.
But then who is at risk here? You see, there's a business that people need to think about, because the business may not, if the business doesn't belong to you, it's a business that is at risk. You get? Because the things that you do that are illegal, and they will expose the business. There are risks to the business. You're exposing the business. And when you're out, or when some of those things are out in public, people don't attack Esther, they don't attack Stephanie, they attack a brand. Because it is a brand that they know. If it is conversations with Esther and there's something about it, people don't attack you as Stephanie. They say this business is unethical and the things they do are not ethical. It's now separated from the person to the business. So the business owners and the investors or whoever it is must really fight that.
Okay,
Yes.
so in whatever you do, you need to have the business in mind.
You have to.
And yeah, be loyal to it. So there's something else that someone wrote. I totally agree with you. Unfortunately, this culture is quite prevalent in Kenya today. Loyalty and sycophancy, other than competency and integrity, have taken center the stage, to the extent that people who are very qualified and competent end up bringing down organizations because they have been turned into mere puppets. Greed and sycophancy is the biggest undoing as the society.
Yes.
What do you say about this? Because your comment was spot on, so you agree with him.
Yes, because it's you got to rise out of competency, and I think it hurts that the people that are competent sometimes will not get the opportunity to, because they missed or they declined to bootlick. So that is where it hurts the business, because and the bosses or the business owners might not see it in the beginning, but talent will exit the business. Talent will exit. Yes.
I like what he has written here. To the extent that people who are very qualified and competent end up bringing down organizations because they have been turned into mere puppets. So he's talking about people who are actually qualified,
who are still there
and working there, but they're working as puppets, so they're not using, you know, what their knowledge and skills.
Yeah,
they're just being used.
They're
as
just
puppets.
doing what they're being told to do, whether it's right or wrong. And there's no one that is. The biggest risk of a business is a skilled, competent person that is shrewd. And that's why you see people at times will even hack into systems, because they are very competent. They know what to do, but they're shrewd. They have no integrity. So you need to be very careful on when it's just like a sharp blade. If it's not used well, it will cut in the wrong direction. And that's exactly what they will do. Yes.
And he also mentions that it's quite prevalent in Kenya today. So do you think it's something that is, just growing now? And if so, why now?
I think it's been there. It's just that people are speaking out now. I think there's a generation that speaks out. There's a generation that is speaking out. I tend to believe it's been there, but people either thought it was a way to survive and took it in, but there's a generation that is speaking out, and which is very good for the business. I honestly encourage that people are able to speak. In some years ago, you wouldn't find people responding to some of these posts, and even now I have had people call me and say, Esther, I saw this post, but I can't share it. I want to share it, but if I share it, my boss will see it. Yes, my boss will see it, and they will see like I'm talking about them. They will know I'm talking about them. So people even in very high positions will not share that.
So as much as there's freedom of speech,
yes,
we can't really do it because our jobs are at
risk. Yes, it's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
So what needs to be done about it? Who's responsible?
I think if I am an employee, I am responsible. I am responsible. I need to, when I get into a business and I'm asked to do something, I need to do this I need to put my values down and just say, this is what I stand for. Because for me, when I get into an organization, I'm very clear. This is who I am and this is what I stand for. However, the leaders as well need to know that this is not the way to survive, because I'm thinking of a junior person that doesn't have a voice, really.
Yeah.
To be honest, a junior person doesn't really have that voice to speak out against it to a CEO. The person will just watch and be told, move this and move this to this direction. Sometimes they don't even ask why. They don't ask because either they're in fear or it's okay. And people have this tendency of saying, anyway, it's their business. If it fails, let it fail. But if you're a responsible employee, then you should be able to say, I agree that we need to do this and this. However, these are the risks around this business. These are the risks that we need to watch out for, so that if something happens after you've done what you were told to do, then nobody comes to blame you. You want the business and you spoke your mind out, but spoke your mind out with respect and say that if we go this route, these are the possible outcomes of this whole thing. So I think it's a respect, and it's how you do it, and leaders are responsible. I say that. The employee is also responsible. I think you just can't blame the leader. I can be able to tell, maybe if it's my boss, I would be able to say, I I agree and I see where you're coming from, but I'm also looking at it from this perspective. So then let's sit and discuss, and they will respect you because they see and they can read that you have your own mind and you're able to say this is wrong, and you're saying this is wrong in a very respectful
way.
Yes.
Okay. And Esther, how far does it really go? You mentioned that there's signing of documents, illegal documents, this is wrong, but how far does it go? Because we've seen people getting into even relationships, sexual relationships with their bosses, because they don't have a choice really. They need to maintain this job. So how far is too far when it gets to this?
I think again I go to the values. I don't think you earn anything by sleeping with your boss. I think they disrespect you. When they're done with you, it's over. It's over. They will move to the next person. And you know what? You will not speak about it because you don't want to lose your job. You will even find the boss will sleep with 2-3 people, but you can't talk, Stephanie, because it's a paycheck. You even get a pay rise. People get pay rises because of that. But what feeling does that leave you with, even as a lady? Where does that leave you? Because you don't respect yourself. To be honest, you don't respect yourself, and you can say no to it and raise it. And I think people need to know the avenues to speak these issues out, because there's a law behind it. I mean, this sexual harassment, there's a law behind it. I mean, every organization has policies. I mean, there are labor offices, there are different places where you can take your issues to. And I spoke to someone and the person said, but these family businesses don't have any laws. I said, no, you're misled, because there's no business that operates in this country or anywhere that is not bound by the laws of Kenya. There's a law behind every business. So I think it's just a mindset and just people being pushed in fear that there's nothing you can do. It's my business anyway. I can do what I want to do with you. It's a lie.
It's a lie.
It's a lie.
You have your own rights.
You can step. You have your rights, because even in your contract, people don't read their contracts. Unfortunately, employees just read the reporting date, the salary. And they're done. The rest of the things they don't read. So all those things are done against them and they don't read. There's a policy up on the whole issue. So you can read the policies. I mean, there are laws of the land on this. Someone is waiting to hear that. Someone is waiting to listen to you. The labor officers are waiting for you to escalate these issues. But people don't go. It's because you want to keep quiet, continue enjoying it, and get the money. Which is very unfortunate.
Very costly in the long run.
Expensive. It's an expensive thing. Yes.
So what would you say, what is your final take, seeing that this is it's highly prevalent, and many people are adapting to this, just looking at the comments and people saying it's easy for someone to get into this because that is the way people are going, so you're just going with the flow. So where would the workplace be in future if this is the road we're taking, and what would you advise as your final say in this particular
I simply
topic?
want to say that even the person whose boots you lick does not respect you. They don't respect you. Don't think they respect you. They don't. That's why they're using you. They don't respect you. And it's a very good way to pat and say, even that same person, that person whose boots you lick
doesn't respect you. Wow.
Yes.
Amazing place to close. And if someone wants to invite you for a talk, because I believe that training is needed in the companies and in leadership, so how can they get you and what are you offering?
We're open to speak to companies, because for me it's a passion to see people enjoy the workspace. Really. It's an experience. Your job should actually be an experience. Your workplace should be an experience. It should be the place that you want to wake up to. So we're open to come to companies, we're open to have conferences, we are moving into the direction of having trainings and getting to train leaders and train supervisors and even top management on how to make the workplace the best place to be. We're open to that, so you can talk to us on our platforms.
Of course, and we have our platforms running on your screen. On LinkedIn, she is there as Esther Katiba. You can interact with her to share some of your thoughts regarding some of the issues that people face in the workplace. Well, this has been it on Matters Bootlicking Conversation. We have been recording here at Herbs and Spice at Serena, and the conversation has been on bootlicking, as I've said. Of course, this is Conversation with Esther. I'm Stephanie. Thank you for tuning in.